to talk about IB programming at the high school, specifically for math. And so I'm just going to do a short introduction here, and then I'm going to turn it over to a high school teacher, Miss Magdahl, and a couple of her students at the high school that are going to tell you a little bit more. But before I do that, I just want to remind you what a badge of honor it is that you have had IB schooling, many of you, since kindergarten. St. Louis Park's commitment to providing IB, International Baccalaureate education to its students is impressive and something that you will be proud of. I hope you already are, and if not, someday you will, because it's a special opportunity that not all students have. And so with that in mind, knowing that for many of you, you have been learning in an IB type of way since kindergarten, really, we want to share with you how that's going to continue on in the high school. And it does look a little bit different, which is why I think it's important that we talk and why we wanted to take time out of your math class to do so. In middle school and in elementary school, for those of you that went to Aquila, Susan Lindgren, or Peter Hobart, the IB programming and the IB classes just happened for you automatically. All the teachers taught in an IB way, all the classes are considered IB classes. And now at the high school, that's going to be different. At the high school, you will choose to take some IB classes, hopefully. And so it's more of a choice on your part, a choice that comes when you get to 11th and 12th grade for the math classes. And so that's something I just want you to keep in mind as you make your progression through your math classes at the high school. There's also another really special opportunity, and that is to get a high school IB diploma, which is a really prestigious extra merit that you would take out of high school and into college. All right, Miss Magdahl.
Perfect. Thank you. So I am a chemistry teacher at the high school, and I'm also the IB Diploma Program Coordinator. I'm going to talk to you for just a few minutes and then open up to have you ask questions of two of our senior diploma candidates, Liz and Tamar. Thank you guys for being here. So get those questions in your mind as we're going along, guys. So once you get to 9th grade, there's no IB classes in the 9th grade, no little insignia at the start of them that say IB, but you can start taking International Baccalaureate programs really as a junior and a senior. And we're hoping that you'll be or continue to be IB students since you have been IB students your whole time at the middle school. And if those of you that have gone through our elementary schools that do have the program, you've also been for even much longer. So we're really hoping to keep you IB learners thinking internationally and working with one another in collaboration as you get to your junior and senior year. So when you register soon, and the counselors come in from the high school and talk about registration, you won't have anything to do for this 9th grade year. There's not going to be anything that you need to register for to be an IB student or continue your IB student work. Once you get to junior and senior year, that's when you will make that selection. So this little flyer tells a little bit about what it is to be an IB student. And hopefully these all are things that you're like, oh yeah, I do that. Oh yeah, we do inquiry in class. Oh yeah, we do projects. I work with my classmates all of the time. I work on my reading, writing skills. Like, you're doing all of these things. That's really what an IB education is all about, and helping you to become an international learner. So as Ms. Peel had mentioned, you can choose IB classes here and there, or you can choose to become an IB diploma candidate, just like Liz and Tamar are. That means that you're going to get an internationally recognized diploma in addition to your St. Louis Park High School diploma. So it's a great way to go to college abroad or get jobs abroad after high school, because schools understand International Baccalaureate. They understand that diploma. So it's very transferable that way. And it's, again, choice. You can choose to have an IB class here or there, or as an IB diploma candidate, you're taking a breadth of classes, just like you are at the middle school. So you've got your math, your science, you've got your language and literature, you have language acquisition, you have individuals and societies. Those are all required of our IB diploma candidates as well. And then they also take two really interesting courses. One is called Theory of Knowledge. They really start thinking about like what it is, how do I know things, what it is to know things, how do you know things in a different way than I do, and how can we both be right at the same time. It's crazy. It's an awesome class. And anybody in the school can take that one, even if you're not a diploma candidate, but it's required for diploma candidates. And then the extended essays. They got to pick something that was interesting to them that was outside of their class content and really delve into it and figure out, answered a question about it and wrote 4,000 words on it. It was amazing. So we'll be celebrating them tomorrow. And really being an IB diploma candidate doesn't mean that you are like this super scholar. It's not something that's supposed to be unique in some way of like, you have to be really like top 1% of your school. It's not like that. It's people that are creative. It's people that want to work with one another, that have bigger goals about the international world around us, that are really going to be good and successful IB diploma candidates.
I know a question we've gotten a lot in other classes is what is the difference between AP and IB? So I don't know if any of you would like to speak to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, I don't like, there are a lot of differences. For me personally, I was suited better for IB than AP. AP is more, it's broad. It's like a whole, like European history. You're learning like 300, 400 words, years of history, and you're like memorizing them, and then you take a big test at the end. IB is much more like area focused, and it goes into depth in different things instead of memorizing like a bunch of facts over 300 years, but they both have their benefits.
Yeah, to me, it's felt I also am better suited for IB, but everybody is their own learner and everybody can choose for themselves, which is really cool. So I feel like AP is a lot of lecturing, a lot of textbook reading, a lot of taking notes. And for some people that really, really helps. But IB is a lot more discussion based, project based. Like in English, we like sit in a big circle and just like talk about the book like almost every single day, which I think is really cool. And it's a lot of like individual work too. So if you like kind of like learning at your own pace and working by yourself, it can be like really helpful.
Tamar, you mentioned that AP is like a big test at the end. What are the assessments that the IB grade is made on?
Yeah, so for IB, you have an IA, which is an internal assessment. And that's kind of something that you'll work on throughout the year for history, chemistry, or whatever class it is that you're doing. And that's kind of, you choose your own topic within that area, whatever it is, to investigate and like learn about it, research it, or doing experiments on it. And you have that. You also have tests at the end, but it's not like AP where you just have the test. Again, AP grade, it's your IB grade is based off, depends on the class, but off the IA and the test.
Yeah, that's kind of the reason I actually chose IB in the first place, was because in our classes, like the exam styles and kind of, it's a lot more like project based in IB, which I really appreciate because I prefer that to like taking just a long multiple choice test. And in a bunch of my classes, the tests are actually like essay style, and I really like writing and I prefer that to multiple choice questions. And I feel like there's just a lot of like more freedom to kind of get your personal voice in there instead of just like answering questions generically, which is what I have really appreciated.
I think a good rule of thumb to know when you're considering AP or IB is just AP usually go over more content less deeply, and IB usually go deeper into the content, but it's less content.
My son Eric graduated from the high school last year, and he took an IB Spanish class and then an IB class on sports and exercise science his senior year. And it was a nice surprise for us that he ended up getting college credit for that. And that saved us a lot of money. He's at the University of Kansas now as a freshman, and that was 2 less classes that he has to take. Are you two thinking about possibly earning college credits from the IB classes you're taking?
Yeah, I definitely am. I think it'd be, I know a lot of colleges have like basic requirements and like major requirements. So it's been really cool to like look at colleges and figure out where I could just get into more of an advanced class and skip out on an easier like intro level, or just classes that I can just take off entirely because I did it in high school.
Tamar, you mentioned going deeper in areas that are really interesting to you on a personal level. And so I'm thinking if students today are not sure if college is part of their future, it could be a technical school, it could be some other career choice. Why would the IB be something that maybe a college-bound student may not, would still want to take because of the interest or the thinking in the course? Would you have, either of you have anything to speak on that?
Yeah, I mean, I know this is one thing that Ivy really sells itself on, and it's true, is it just kind of teaches you how to think, which is really important, like not just for college, but like for anything. It teaches you like how to think in a way that's not just memorize a bunch of random facts, and how to write essays, how to do your own research and all that kind of stuff. And that isn't just for people that are going to go in college. That's helpful for anyone.
Yeah, and I think the internal assessments that you do kind of throughout the year, whether it's a paper or a lab experiment, like really allow you to explore within that subject. And even if it's a subject or something that you're not really passionate about, like for instance, I really do not like history. It's just not my thing, but I'm really into science. So for my history internal assessment last year, I did like a paper on the history of one of the major pandemics in the past 100 years. So this is before COVID happened, ironically. But yeah, so it's kind of cool to be able to pick out your own topics that work for you.
I feel like one thing that you learn from like IB is like thinking outside of the box, since like it's like a really like outside experience, because you have to like think about a lot of things. Like it's like more in depth. Like between like the first year and the second year just like goes more in depth of stuff that you don't usually cover in like first year.
I would agree with that. I feel that the AP classes that I've taken in previous years, they're more about memorization and a lot of subjects in a very short amount of time, and the IB classes are less like that. You do fewer topics, but you do a lot more in-depth study into all of them. And I feel that, like Ilhan said, it's a lot more about explaining how you know things and like what you can use, what you can do once you have that knowledge, as opposed to just being like, this is the right answer, this is the only way to think about something.
Yeah, and it sounded like from some of the other students, thank you for that, that they also got to select topics within courses in the IB that were more interesting for them.
So I think that was going around the internal assessments. So Talia, you've done more than anybody here of the internal assessments, but Fiona and Ilhan have both already completed chemistry and are working on their history ones. So if you guys want to talk about what those internal assessments are and how that goes into that final grade.
The good thing about IB is that if you're a bad test taker or just not a strong test taker, you can still get a good grade through your IAs, which is another project kind of like the extended essay, but smaller. And so I've done chem, history, and English so far. And then right now I'm working on math and bio. And so with it, you get to pick a topic, anything. I drink a lot of tea. So for chemistry, I looked at caffeine and tea. Really interested in immigration. So for history, I looked into immigration stuff. And for math, I'm looking into like women in Congress. Like you can really take any topic and make it your own. So yeah, it sounds horrible that these classes are all 2 years long, but you get to make it your own and spend a lot of time doing what's interesting to you.
So what if you don't know what's interesting for you? What if you're like, I don't know what to do?
Well, I started like that. For chem, Magdal had us do a good like 20 or 30 topic ideas brainstorm, and I had nothing. And then I met with her, and we just went over random things that I liked, and somehow we ended on caffeine and tea. Like, you will go through whatever, same thing with history. Your teachers will help you come up with what's interesting to you, and you'll just kind of figure out something eventually, and you can change it. You're not stuck to one thing. I changed my bio IA a good 6 or 7 times.
Yeah, and also the thing about like the IAs is that like it's really flexible. Like for my chem IA that I did, I couldn't do something, so like I could just like switch it, and I like switched like a couple times before I finally set on something. Nothing's really set until you like actually do the lab and like actually do the work for it.
Awesome.
Thank you. Great perspectives.
Awesome. And we've got a good question in the chat. So do you have to choose only IB or AP or PSEO, or can you choose some of each of them, even as a diploma candidate? So we'll remember that these are the ones that are going for that international baccalaureate diploma. Can you still do AP or PSEO classes with them?
The answer is yes, but it's wise not to do them while you're also pursuing like the diploma candidate program. So like my freshman year, I took AP Environmental Science, which I know some of you guys might be looking at that now, but I'm also a diploma candidate. So I was able to take those AP classes, but I am not as of now because I'm doing just a full-blown IP.
I also think, like Simona said, especially as a freshman and sophomore, you can take like whatever classes are available because there aren't a lot of IB. But when you get to junior and senior year, I actually think the IB are better in most cases than the AP because there's a lot more freedom in what you do. Like in IB History of the Americas, which is one option, then AP US History is the other. In IB, you get to do a really big paper where you have a lot of time to do it, a lot of support, but you get to do whatever you want to do, and you don't just have to memorize like 40, or you don't have to memorize 300 years of US history. You just kind of pick and choose what's interesting to you.
Gabe, follow-up question on that one. So what does that report do? Like, why are you spending so much in-class time on that report?
So it's called an internal assessment in IA. And in history and English and classes like that, it's a paper. And that's partially instead of like the big standardized tests at the end of the year that AP has, IB has the smaller version. And yeah, you just get to pick what topic you want to do. You get to research it. It's basically just like an interest project where normally like in AP courses or in other courses, sometimes it feels like you have to do a certain thing and it's not as interesting. But that's why I really like IB. There's a lot more freedom in it.
I have a question about, I think, Jack, you mentioned it. I'm Miss Valdera, the IB coordinator here. And you said classes that are IB tend to go deeper instead of like broad. So sometimes classes can be really fast paced and cover all kinds of stuff. And so that's a very different feel in a class than going deep into something interesting. Can you, Jack, think of one of your classes that you really appreciated that they went more deeply into a topic and that you benefited from? Or any of the IB students?
Yeah, I think a great example of this is actually history. So history is a 2-year class, IB History HL. And instead of taking like a US history like APUSH, where you would go over the US history from 1776 until now, all in 1 year, we instead like basically dive really deep into 6 different time periods. So right now we're talking about authoritarian states, so that would be like Castro, Mao, and Stalin. But then last year we also talked about the Civil War, So basically, you just spend like a really long, and the Great Depression, and you basically spend like a really long time on those few topics, learning everything there is to know about them, but you don't learn about the other stuff in between.
Right now.
Okay, I can go first. I'm in Spanish. I did go to PSI, like I know some of you guys were saying in the chat. So I've been taking Spanish since kindergarten. And for my first few years of high school, I was in AP Spanish. And then as part of the IB diploma, you get to do the IB Spanish classes in like, I think 11th and 12th grade are both IB. Does that sound right? So it's just, I've enjoyed both of those classes. Like, I think you get to like connect a lot more with what we're doing in class through the IB diploma program. And I've just enjoyed it a lot. And I think I've been able to learn a lot more with my Spanish skills being in those classes.
Good. I'm glad you went there because I was hoping you'd say, oh yeah, I went to PSI. The cool thing about our PSI students that go for the IB diploma, which again is an internationally recognized diploma, they'll earn the bilingual IB diploma. So they take it up a whole nother notch just because they went to PSI. So even if you didn't go, or if you went to PSI and didn't have that IB background, you're still an IB learner. What motivates you? And I'm assuming you mean specifically about the International Baccalaureate or being a DipCan diploma candidate. So Keely and Tenzin, what motivates you to do this full IB diploma program?
That is a good question. So I think what motivates me to stay as part of the IB diploma is that I know that like I'm gaining so much like knowledge through all these classes I'm taking. And like, I mean, when you're in your junior and senior year of high school, you have to start thinking about college and stuff. And like, that's a big thing that you're like looking forward to. And I know that these classes that I'm taking will not only help me like get into college, but also like help me prepare for what I'm going to be learning in college. And that like just motivates me. And also like I'm just like friends with a lot of people in the program. So I think like it's good to just have friends in the program and you guys can kind of motivate each other. So that's what keeps me going when I'm doing it.
Yeah, I agree. What motivates me is just knowing that I'm gonna get like real world like life skills, like talking to others and discussions and stuff like that. And I also have a lot of friends in the IB diploma program, so it's kind of a good fit. And I also was kind of tired of like AP. I know once you get to your freshman and sophomore years, you have like AP classes that you can take, and it's really nice in that it's contrary. So AP is more like test based, like you learn a bunch of stuff about like a specific topic, and then maybe like a week or two later you do like a test on it, like every just a few weeks. And so I kind of got tired of that compared to IB, where it's more discussion based and free flowing, which I like. So yeah.
That says like, what do you do when it gets tough, or how do you cope? So I think like as part of the like program and like the IB diploma program, like I mean, there is like a lot of work and stuff that you have to do, but I think it's kind of a misconception that like if you do this, you're just doing homework all the time. Like you definitely still have time to like do all the other things you want to do. And I think it's good to just like balance your work life, and also like you can still hang out with friends and do other stuff to just like relax in between. And I think that there's always going to be time to do the things that you enjoy doing, and also to like learn all this new stuff as part of the IB program.
Yeah, all the IB diploma candidates are really like connected to each other. We have a lot of the same classes, so we end up becoming really good friends. And also it's not, yeah, kind of like what Keely said, it's just not all about the homework. Like I'm in Echo, the school newspaper for high school, and I'm able to do all my work and get all my stuff finished on time. So it shouldn't really be like something to worry about in the future.
Awesome. Libby, do you have a question? Yeah, why don't you unmute yourself?
In the long run, what do you think you will like take and value most from your experience in all of these classes?
Great question.
Yeah, that's a great question. I think in the long run, I think that something I've learned is like a lot about just discussions and like how to kind of talk with other people and learn from like other people's knowledge and then gain your own knowledge. And also like with the extended essay and stuff and just like all my classes, I've learned a lot about like writing and like strengthen my writing skills and just like I think I've just strengthened a lot of my skills in classes. And also, like Tenzin was saying, the program is like a big community. Like we're friends with everyone in the program. And I think like I've just made a lot of friends in this program that I will keep years in the future. So I think both knowledge from my classes and also like just connections with people that I've met.
Yeah, I agree. Especially just the real world skills that you just develop. It's almost unattainable in like certain classes. So just being having the opportunity to hone those skills is truly something that will help me in the future. So yeah.